my first film was non-union, everybody in it was like non-union, and then I did, well, I think there was I'm not sure because I had some sketchy representation. And I actually found myself in a situation where I was suddenly overhearing conversations of, well, an actress, is presented to us as having a SAG card, and she's blah, 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 tact card, blah, 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 SAG card. And I was like, what did I do?
And do you remember the first time?
I was trying to think, it must have been, I did this rather short-lived, but still special, ABC miniseries called Empire. And I played Carmine, the Vestal Virgin. You're welcome. So, yeah.
The woods via the Bernadette VHS tape. And I heard they were making it into a movie. I sort of heard rumblings, and when I first found out, when my agent called me to tell me, asked if I wanted to put myself on tape for it, I was like, oh yeah, Little Red, here I come. And then I found out they would be using an actual child. No, but for sure, I was like, oh, I got this. I'm going to be a kid-ass Little Red. And then I was told I would have to sing like a soprano, which was terrifying. And I actually put myself on tape for the workshop that Rob was doing in New York with James and Christine Brinsky and some of the people who've been doing it in the park. And we sort of put up a show in a barn for the Disney executives and came out hoping they would give us money.
That obviously worked out. Were you Cinderella in that version?
Yeah, I put myself on tape for Cinderella. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that about Little Red, because that was when I heard you were casting this, that's what I assumed too.
Oh, that's what all my friends say. Yeah, I can scream. Doing the high notes in the lovely way, it was new to me. So yeah.
And Emily, I think you may have said that Ross kind of talked you into this. Is that true?
Well, I was, I guess, reluctant to sing in front of anybody. You know, I think like a lot of people, you know, it's a strangely intimate, personal thing to sing. It's why people are drunk for karaoke, because it's tough. And he's a musical god, and so when I heard that I should go in for it, I felt nervous about it. And he called my agent and said, listen, you know, tell her to stop being a wuss, like, it's fine. And I want actors who can kind of sing, not the other way around, you know. I'm looking for people with humanity and humor for this role, and that's what I want. And so I just sort of went in, and and I had learned the whole thing, and I had props, and I said, listen, I don't want to stand here shuffling sheet music, so I'm just going to do it for you.
Do much about that. I would have loved to have, because I actually went, I had about 2 weeks, maybe, in between last 5 years and this, which was, in theory, great, because I, you know, had been singing on film, but in reality, kind of the worst, because, you know, that music is, you know, it's all about pushing through big notes, and, you know, in my mind, it's like Jason Robert Brown is running a marathon, and Stephen Sondheim is ballroom dancing. And you can be good at one, and it doesn't mean that you're good at the other. And so I just kind of locked myself in my apartment in London, and, you know, laid out all my sheet music, and I had highlighters and tape recorders, and I was listening to all these sopranos on YouTube, and just sort of shuffling through, and like trying to just, you know, I was like trying on the voice like I was trying on an accent, and just sort of settled, you know, in what to my ear was a passable impression of someone with training. And Paul Giamatti was like, great, fine. So, and he does not say great, fine, unless he means great, fine.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That means excellent. So you should feel good with that.
I mean, is there any other kind of special preparation you do? Do you go back and watch your VHS? Do you read the fairy tales? I'm very
I read the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, but I didn't want to revisit the VHS or anybody else's version, because then you're in the tricky position of trying not to imitate, but then also maybe making choices, just so you're not doing the same thing, which is, maybe would have been your first instinct. That's just a mess.
His name's Eric Vitro, if anyone ever wants to learn to sing. He's amazing, and he was very emboldening to me, and it was exciting, learning how to sing properly. And I always loved singing, actually. It was something I really enjoyed, but I never had any kind of formal training. And as I'm sure you can hear from the songs, if you know Stephen Sondheim's work, it is so complex. It is just, you just do your best to keep up with it. And it's like playing tennis against an ace tennis player, and you're just trying to keep up with what he's throwing at you. And that's what's so arresting about the music, is that it kind of makes you sit up and want to follow these characters. And it's emotionally so complex, So I was delving into that and prepping in that way, but I was also prepping for the fact that I might have a director turn around to me and say, actually, you can't do it, because I found out I was going to have a baby the same week I found out I had this job. And so, I kind of was going through these 2 months of prepping and singing and everything, and I waited a while before I called Rob Marshall to say, I have something to tell you. The ultimate irony of playing this barren woman, and here I am, bigger every day. And, so he was great about it, and we were about 2 weeks from rehearsal, and I called him and he said, I have something to tell you. For a joke, he went, "You're having a baby." And I went, "Yes, Rob, I am." And he was amazing about it, and I think he freaked out, but covered it very well, as only he does, because he's the nicest man on the planet. And when I showed up, I walked in and I was about 3.5 months pregnant by the time we started rehearsing. And I walked in and I could just see him and all the producers just scanning my body as soon as I walked in to see if I put on any weight, but, which I did towards the end. I was about 7.5 months pregnant in rehearsal, and she was throwing herself around the room. I mean, with such abandon. She's remarkable, as you all know, but to work with her is another thing. She is incredible to be around, and you are just jaw on the floor, awestruck at what she throws against the wall with such amazing confidence and courage, But anyway, she jumped up on this table, and when a car accident happens or something awful happens, the sound cuts out and things just slow down. And I saw her foot get caught in this cape, and she just started to fall, towards the concrete floor. And the pregnant woman caught it, and the 2 men just stood there like that.
And you said they were utterly useless.
They were crappy years ago, but at the same time, so I think I knew her better as a person, so to kind of hang out with her felt more intimate and easier than it did when we were on Devil Wears Prada, because it was the biggest thing that had ever happened to me, that film, and she was so terrifying, and she was kind of in character the whole time, and she said to us at the table read, she goes, "I think you're both great, and it's the last nice thing I'm saying." It really was, she barely spoke to me for the whole film. So this was a difference, because I've known her now for the last 9 years, and it's been 9 years, which is crazy. But I think as much as you get to know that she's abroad, and she's one of the great people. She's great at life, and curious about everything other than the business, and that's what makes her such an extraordinary actress, is that she's curious about everything out there. And so you never stop being awestruck by honoring him.
The music is so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard to sing, and it's so fun to act, and it's not easy to act, but it's so fun.
So fun.
And but the music is a nightmare. I mean, it's so hard. and everybody says that. I mean, from the plebs in the cast to our musical directors, they had a lot of sympathy for us, but at the same time did not tread lightly, did not pull punches, But that's how we knew that when we had it, we had it. And so the music is a great sort of stressful thing, but once you get there, and we all did, it's just like, it's like having wings, it's like you need to learn to use them, but.
He was in the middle of one of his great speeches and someone's phone went off and he stopped and he stared and stared at this poor woman until she eventually went and he just waited and she got the phone, turned it off, and he went, "Congratulations, you ruined my favorite speech."
The one side of it, which is on the last 5 years, when Jeremy actually had a scene by himself, I would go, to our holding area, which was the basement of a church in Harlem, and nap on the floor, because that's just what we had. And on this, everything was sort of prettily appointed, and it was, sort of nice and lovely. But the other part of it is there's so much time. Rob is such a perfectionist, and I don't know how to handle having the time and money. Like, I'm so used to indies and to have the freedom to, I'm so used to being like, I'll pull focus while I do this, let's get a shot, what do we do, how can I help? I'm trying to be teacher's pet and save money and time, and Steps of the Palace we were supposed to shoot in a day. We had 1 day for Steps of the Palace. And I was losing my mind because I was like, for sure we have to get it. We have to turn around. They're not even, I don't know what we're going to do. And they're going to cut my song from the movie. And at one point, Rob, was just always composed and elegant and, this really calm presence was like, oh no, we're just going to come back tomorrow and do it right. We're just, this is what we're doing. I don't care, I don't know if the composure and the elegance is because he's like, I'm just murdering Disney execs left and right to get the money. I don't know. Yes. But it was a hard adjustment, but so wonderful to have, this sort of, this leader for whom the product was the most important thing, and he was not going to have anybody, in a panic, self-sabotaging my own scene because, I thought it was about, making sure that we could turn around in time. So that was unnerving, but...
which was a bit of a shock. I didn't realize he was going to be there. And when he showed up, and there was a 65-piece orchestra and Stephen Sondheim. Orchestra was incredible. He was incredible, but frightening. But ultimately, it was so great having him there, partly because I think you could see he was so thrilled by the lushness of the music. He'd never heard it with 65 piece, or he'd heard it with at most 15-piece pit band. And he just apparently was in the other room just listening to it like this. Just, it's so magical to hear about that. It was so cool. And very specific notes, very specific. He would come in and give you a note, and they were never about it sounding pretty, which was a huge relief to me. It was always about, he had a note for me in my notes in the woods, no, you gotta stay on pace because, she's going somewhere, she needs to make a decision, she doesn't know what she's doing, you gotta stay on pace, you're just stretching it around too much. He was really kind of tough like that, but it was cool.
Yeah. His note to me during the workshop, which I only remember recently, that his one note to me was, she talks to birds. But I know, but it actually totally, because I feel like I'd been, especially because he was there for the workshop too, I'd been thinking I have to be so, especially because I was thinking of myself as Little Red, and then I'm playing a grown-up, which I am, but still feels weird. And
you are a tiny person.
Sort of the idea of playing the ingenue and playing the soprano, I was it was so, I was playing it a bit po-faced and a bit kind of melancholy, and it was like to have the freedom to lean into the neuroses that I wanted to bring to it anyway. It